Hello, everyone, and welcome to this channel and to Create with Franz. This is Franz, Sidney, talking to you. And today we have an amazing guest all the way from St. George, Utah. So, hello to Jerald Simon.
How are you? Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
I'm also very happy because today we are starting the first of a series of podcasts that are dedicated to analyzing how we can survive a big shift coming now between normal life and the AI supported life,
hmm
where everything is like, is that real news? Is it fake news? Is it a real video? Did you actually do the drawing? Did you compose the music or was it Suno? And also we want to see the impact that real art, real music, real products can make to your own happiness, to your own well-being. It's very different. So the world now is full of news and videos and music, and it just thrown at us all the time, and it can be quite a lot of stuff. And we might have our own problems, employment, disease, divorce, loneliness, drugs, whatever. So we all need that time of peace and rest. And a lot of people tend to use doom scrolling.
hmm Yes.
So we just scroll, because we can't think and we need to rest, and we're kind of forgetting there is something amazing to use, and that is music. So for this reason, we have today Gerald, who is a musician and LDS composer, and he will use some explanations here, music and this 40-beat rhythm and the
hmm
chakras to help you and me and everyone else to listen to the music, to tune in, tune the heart, tune the soul, and find this positivity that we are looking for. So I really want to see what's the secret to better health. And I want to see how we go from disconnection to connection. So let's start, Gerald, with introducing yourself, what you do, and how this 60 BPM works, right? It's all yours.
Exactly. Thank you so much. Well, my name is Jerald Simon, as Franz had stated, and I live in St. George, Utah, which is all the way down at the very southernmost part of Utah. And we're only about 5 minutes away from Arizona, about 30 minutes away from Mesquite, Nevada. So we're down at the very lowest part of southern Utah. And I'm a professional musician. I'm a composer. I'm an author. I write music books of my own original music that I've composed. I come out with albums featuring various styles and genres of music. I have principally focused on creating very gentle, soothing, harmonious meditation and relaxation music. And we'll talk about that more because I have tried to develop and focus on how I can share more peace and positivity with the world through my music and through my original poetry, motivational, inspirational poems that I've written, my self-help books that I've created. I really want to do everything I can to help people experience more peace and positivity in their lives. And we're living in a very turbulent time right now. So more people need peace and positivity, and music is a great way to bring that into their lives.
I can just agree.
hmm
Music is incredible. I remember my years as a DJ in Italy, 5 years of heavy metal and
hmm
pop music, and I remember those experiences I had since I was 12. Some events that came with music, and the music was kind of primed in my heart. And then 20 years later, you hear the music and you're back to that event and you experience the
hmm
same emotion. So this music has a power to us. I mean, if you are a child of the 80s, born in the
Yep.
60s, I'm
Uh-huh.
61, you guys. So, and you listen to All Night Long by Lionel Richie,
Get
don't you
Lionel
all?
Richie. Yes,
Don't you go back
exactly.
to those parties we used to have when people used to talk in
hmm
person to other people? It's just the power. So the memories are there, the emotions are there. And I'm so glad to talk to somebody who knows what they're doing, not just giving a prompt to a computer, who
hmm
can recognize patterns. Okay, that's fun. But how about feeling this music, having a melody that comes from heavenly inspiration, and have this melody to cry about your pain or to rejoice? So it's quite a different thing. I want to understand more this connection between the music and the soul, and especially this chakra.
hmm So what happens is most people don't realize that We are all experiencing music at different levels. Now, from a composer aspect, we have rhythm, we have melody, we have harmony, we have different elements that we can combine to create a beautiful orchestration, a beautiful piece. But what people don't realize is, as human beings, our bodies respond to rhythm. Most people don't realize that if you think of, as an example, film composers do this beautifully. They will start a piece out slowly where the tempo is set at a much slower pace, and then the tempo starts to speed up slowly. If you think of Jaws, the movie, and this is a great example of that, what happens is our body responds to rhythm. Our heartbeat, when it is at a nice, calm, rested rate, is 60 beats per minute. If we start to listen to music that is at a faster pace, our heartbeat starts responding to that rhythm and it starts to speed up. So essentially, if you think of Jaws, the music started slowly and it was only a minor second interval, and we'll talk about intervals here in a second, but it started slowly and it began to speed up slowly. So what happens was our heartbeat began to speed up to follow the rhythm. And then essentially we scared ourselves because the rhythm, our heartbeat was accelerating faster and faster as the rhythm accelerated. And our heartbeat does the same thing when we listen to music. So when we can listen to calm, relaxing music at 60 beats per minute, our heartbeat slows down instantly. And our heart begins to regulate the blood throughout our system because of the music we are listening to, and that is only focusing on the rhythm and the beat and the pulse. The chakras, we are lined up like a musical scale, if you want to think of it like that. If we're in the key of C major, we have a C major scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Well, starting from the base of our feet, heading all the way up to our head, our body is lined up according to chakras. The head, of course, is the crown chakra. Well, we can line that body up according to a C major scale. Every tone of a scale will impact different parts of the body, whether it's impacting our organs or our heart or our crown chakra, our head. So when you have different tones and different key signatures that are used, they will impact your eyes or your ears or your internal organs. And people don't realize, many times they'll say, I feel sick or I feel some tension or pain. It's because the music that they're listening to is actually impacting their gut and that central part because of what they're hearing. And they don't know that, and they don't realize the music they listen to will impact them not just mentally and emotionally and spiritually, but also physically.
Get all this stuff trickling down. And
Hmm.
if you have ever doubted about the connections, think about horror movies. Sometimes there are
Hmm.
trailers on YouTube. I don't watch horror movies because I couldn't stomach any. I mean, the horror movies now are way more
Oh, yes.
succulent than it used to be in the 80s, you know.
Hmm.
So, but I see the trailer sometimes on YouTube, and I've noticed if you turn the volume all the way down, the
Yep.
trailer has very little effect. Yes, it's very dark and people
Hmm.
are screaming. There might be gore on blood. Okay. But it's really the music that
It
makes
is.
you feel like I'm really agitated.
Hmm.
And
It is.
you can see that with plants.
Oh,
Plants
you could
respond to music.
plants respond to music. They actually did a study, and they've done numerous studies with the power and the effect of plants. One study that was done here in the United States, they actually took two separate plants, and what they did to test the plants to see how music would impact or affect the plants, they did a controlled experiment. Over the course of about 4 to 6 months, they would test what happened if they had speakers planted at the base of the plants where they would listen to music. Now, it was a controlled experiment. Both plants received the same amount of sunlight. Both plants received the same amount of water and additional nutrients that they would add. The soil was the exact same. The only difference was the music that the plants would listen to. And they did a study in Colorado. They did a separate study in Arizona where they had, it was a similar study. One plant, they had classical music. They used Beethoven in one study. In another study, they actually used a nice, very gentle, and this was Bach. You know, they used Air on a G String by Johann Sebastian Bach. And what happened was that plant that had the classical music thrived. After 3 to 4 months, it had almost doubled in size. The other plant had heavy acid rock music, just the hardest rock where the guitars were wailing, and they just put a speaker near the plant, and the music was continuous. So it was going nonstop for over 3, 4 months. After about a month and a half, that plant turned black. After 2 to 3 months, it was completely dead. It didn't even make the 4 to 6 month time period. And you think of what is happening to the plants. Now, our bodies are full of water. And there have been several studies. Of course, if you start looking into the water crystals that have been taken, and you can go through and study the photos, Dr. Amato and different others around the world, they would play music with water and they would freeze the water crystals to see how music affected water. And the same experience would happen over and over again when they played beautiful, classical, gentle, harmonious music. The water crystals would become almost snowflake-like, and they would be so symmetrical and artistic, whereas the ones that were created during heavy acid, dark rock music, they would become, the water would almost change color, and it would become this mess, this chaotic problem. And the same thing happens with each of us as we are impacted by music.
So we are just as good as these plants. We can absorb. This is the same for the tone of music, which is why if you
Mm-hmm.
have, for example, a hypnotic session and then
Mm-hmm.
you have to listen to a recording, the voice will be calm and soothing to calm you down, and the music will not be Pink Floyd on AC/DC.
Uh-huh.
It will be maybe a little bit calmer, and maybe you have a sounds of nature, which I know, Gerald, you put in a lot of your recordings because it's so calming and soothing.
Mm-hmm.
And some people love to put the crackling of a fire or a waterfall. In fact, one of the most viewed videos on YouTube is a video of a fire crackling there and it goes forever.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
just people just find it very calming and soothing after the whole day of work and stress. So these noises have an impact on us. So you have lots of albums and
Mm-hmm.
lots of creations going there. And you are using basically music to bless people. Because if you think about it, just be careful here. Is a
Mm-hmm.
music a legal drug for your nervous system? It's a legal drug because
Yeah.
instead of having amphetamines or alcohol to calm down, you get the music. If you're agitated, put some heavy agitated music, it keeps you agitated. Then slow it down a little bit. And as you slow it down a little bit more, your heart rate goes down and your agitation starts to calm down
Mm-hmm.
because it's positive. You have something in your brain called the reward system. We all know
Mm-hmm.
dopamine is always there in the news. Even on TikTok, you will find dopamine. And this is also associated with a great meal or when you fall in love, when you have a nice massage to move up everything in your body. It's just amazing. You feel a lovely chill. And it's the dopamine is important, and we that's why we get addiction as well, right? Because we can be
Mm-hmm.
addicted to higher and higher levels. So watch Huberman Lab for that. So you are enjoying your lower cortisol levels when you're writing or listening to or creating music or having this calmness descending because the rhythm is changing. But some studies also say that music can boost your immune system
Mm-hmm.
because immunoglobulin A apparently is produced in high numbers. So you think, wow, what is wrong about this? There's nothing wrong with music. You have a cathartic, you have a flow state, you can paint better, you can skate better, you can run better when you have music. So, what are your suggestions? I know you have a 30-day challenge
Mm-hmm.
and lots of stuff going on here to help us to get music more into our life. How would you embody this in everyday life to have more music so we can feel better?
I think the best thing we can do, and at the very beginning of our conversation, you talked about what is happening with AI and this shift and this change. The reason why I like to incorporate nature is because when you can record birds chirping or the ocean waves, when you can record bees that are buzzing around or the wind that's blowing, and with my music that I create, I will go out into nature and I will record those sounds, and then I will sometimes add those sounds to the compositions I've already created, or I will create compositions based on those sounds that I've recorded with nature. And what we need to do, we need to connect with nature more. Nature is healing. You talked about the dopamine. You talked about what happens within our body physically. We all have that natural high. Our body, the cortisol and everything that our body is creating within us, we have unfortunately excluded ourselves from the healing powers of nature. We need to focus more on grounding. When you can walk barefoot in the grass and you're grounding with nature, when you can walk barefoot on the beach and you can have the ocean waves caressing your ankles, what happens is you're connecting with nature. We have become a society that we have isolated ourselves because we've become so consumed and almost involved, overly involved with technology. People are stuck on their phones. People are stuck inside their office or their cubicle, and far too often people don't connect with nature. Just as nature has the power healing, all throughout nature you see the beauty and the geometry and the symmetry. Music has that same power because of the frequencies. Each tone in music has a frequency. And we can talk about firsts and seconds and thirds and fourths and fifths. And the perfect fifth interval was the interval of royalty because even anciently they knew that when you had your grounding tone, the main tone of the key signature of whatever key a particular piece is played in, that grounding tone acts like when we are walking barefoot on the beach. It's the grounding structure or element of the piece. All throughout my music, I will have particular grounding tones according to the key signature, where it will be a frequency, just a low drone, either bass or harmonic tone, that is the foundation. And that is to help ground us. Then you can add thirds. The triad was actually a form of divinity, where you have a perfect fifth interval combined with a major third. That was in reference to the Trinity. And the triad was often used because it was major, and different chords and different intervals had different frequencies of how they would impact us internally. That is why I have tried to include music that will help us feel more calm and relaxed, because I'm trying to mimic nature and incorporate nature into that. I want people to essentially deactivate or deplug or stop doing what they're doing and get outside. Listen to nature. Listen to healing harmonies and music that can help you live a stress-free life, because we are so caught up in stress and anxiety, and music can help us experience peace and positivity.
Thank you. I really think in this particular moment with the threat of war, unemployment, the weather changes, the fires in these dry states around us,
Hmm.
You think, wow, is there a moment where I can just center myself? And, everyone has 5 minutes. Maybe
Oh yeah.
today, instead of in your lunch break, people have lunch breaks, instead of scrolling on Facebook or TikTok, maybe just put on some music and isolate yourself for a minute and relax and then go and talk to a real person.
Hmm.
Is that something that still happens, or am I too ancient for this? Just talk to a real person. And if you are in a close relationship, sometimes just a pat on the back, to know, to let them know you are there with them in their pain. Because what we're missing now is this human connection. And although I have to say AI is a marvelous tool,
Oh, it is.
science,
Yes.
marvelous, helpful. You can do so much, you can save so much time. But let us not forget that when we have so many shortcuts, in the end, the brain stops thinking about how to fix stuff, how to create stuff, because AI is so good with large language models that can
Hmm.
recognize patterns, but they can give us a lot of hallucinations, confidently give us a lot of lies as well. And we
Hmm.
stop thinking in a creative way. And I'll be talking a lot in the next episode about how creation and being tactile, they just give us something that giving a prompt or mid journey cannot give us. And I
Hmm.
understand people who cannot compose music or cannot draw, or they think they cannot, because in my opinion, you can. You can
Everyone
learn
can.
anything. But
Everyone can.
there is a sense of satisfaction. You go to Suno and say, well, can you create me a little bit of jazz music at the last 5 minutes and in the style
Hmm.
of? Yeah, but the computer is just picking up all the things that already exist, put them together, and there's no soul, no empathy, no connection, no storytelling, no personal experience, no inner pain. There's no pathos, as we say in Greece.
Hmm.
So you can feel it's like, yeah, it's okay. But when a person is there, has an inspiration, has a
Hmm.
tune there. Think about Handel's Alleluia. How did that come through?
Yes.
Think about the history behind it. Then when you listen to it, you can feel the pathos. And the same is for everything we do. So it's good to have a shortcut for something. I don't have time for this, just summarize it. But when it comes to creation and art, we want to communicate. And I love to go to a musician and say, I mean, I would love to meet Barry Gibb of the Bee Gees,
Hmm.
Robert Plant, Led Zeppelin. I want to talk to them and say, how did
Sure.
you come out with this music? Because I love it. And even today, I love it. And Pink Floyd, and just love. I would love to talk to Gilmour and Roger Waters and say,
Hmm.
how did you come out? I know they use psychedelics. I know you guys. I'm a baby of
Yeah.
the 60s. It was psychedelics. But
Right,
now
right.
they're rediscovering. But see, you cannot ask a computer, what was happening in your life when you created this
Hmm.
piece of music?
Yeah.
You can't, because it's a bunch of chips,
Hmm.
and there are people getting married to these chips.
Yeah.
I mean, addictions, suicide, and a lot of serious stuff happening. Pornography is going to the highest levels now. So you have to think, we need to remember that tools are tools. AI is a tool. You can use it in
Hmm.
lots of things. But when it comes to arts, music, acting, singing, and lots of other types of art, it isn't just figurative. The human connection, the human history really matter. So that's why we're exploring this. And I wanted to ask Jerald, is there something that we haven't talked about, but you think is important to put into this conversation?
I think what you mentioned with the human connection is imperative because we are losing that human connection. And AI is a wonderful tool that people can use. But what happens is when you create and when you compose something, it's electrifying. When you are drawing a picture, when you are writing poetry, I've written several books of poetry, and they're motivational, inspirational words of wisdom, but I primarily wrote them for myself. When you begin that process, that creative process, you are tapping into an unbelievable realm. It's a creative realm. And then it transcends. It is what bridges the gap between this earthly estate and heaven. It really, you brought up, and again, I love Handel's Messiah. you think about what he experienced as he composed that. And I've had moments when I know that the music came to me and it came through me. And it changed me. It changes the way you see the world. It changes the way you interact with people. You become blessed in so many ways because the music is transformative. I have a daughter who is 20, and one of her friends composed, quote unquote, a song and started coming out with all of these great songs. And I turned to my daughter and said, "These are amazing. They're wonderful." I said, "His voice is unbelievable." And she said, "Oh, he has a horrible voice. He's not singing. That's AI singing." And I said, "Oh, he's not singing?" And she said, "No, that's AI singing." I said, "Oh, well, the music is amazing." I said, "How long has he been playing the piano and playing the guitar?" And she said, "Oh, he doesn't play any instruments. But but he wrote this song." And I said, "Well, if he doesn't play any instruments and he has a horrible voice, how did he write the song?" And I say he can't perform this for people. He can't go out and share the music with others. And she said, "Oh no, he wrote the lyrics and he composed everything." And so then I went to his website where he was talking about his creative process. And he said, "I typed on the computer that I want to write a song about," and he gave a one-word example about love. And then AI kicked out an entire song, and then I went through and I said, "Oh, I want to change this paragraph to talk about this topic." And I thought, that's not writing a song, and you didn't compose any music because you can't play any instruments. And when you hold an instrument in your hand, again, it's that sensory feeling, the vibrations of the strings as you're playing guitar, when you're pressing down on the keys, that physical touch, that human connection that you talked about. And then when you are performing and playing, your emotions are coming out, and that sensitivity, all of the experiences that you've experienced, your audience can hear that, they can feel that. And you can connect with people on a much deeper level. I always tell people there are two universal languages. One is the smile. Everyone, regardless of the language you speak, you can smile and you can instantly connect with that person. Because when you smile, your brain triggers, again, going back to the dopamine and talking about what happens physically and emotionally within us. But the other universal language is music. And when we hear music, when we create music, when we share music, it can bridge any gap. Cultural, religion, relationship. Music has the power to heal, and that's why I like to focus on peace and positivity.
That is so wonderful. Thank you so much. And I wanted to add something really small, and it just comes in my head and then it goes away. And here is a concept. Let's say that I have a birthday party and I go to the local baker and say, "Can you make me a cake?" And it's going to have all the colors of a sunset. And it's going to have decoration looking like a forest. It's going to have little animals, and I describe every animal how it has to be. And then it's for celiac people, so the recipe has to have no gluten whatsoever. And then it has to be square. And then on the side it has to be, and I just go in detail. Then the baker gives me this amazing cake. And we eat it and it's amazing. Now, have I become a baker? I just commissioned a piece of art that I'm going to eat.
That's
So
exactly right.
it's
Yeah.
wonderful. It tastes amazing. Looks gorgeous. You had a good idea to create that, but you're not the baker. And the same
Yeah.
if I go to a very famous painter, can I have a portrait and has to be oil painting, has to be like, that's fine. The painter will do it. I haven't become a painter. I'm just commissioning. So it's wonderful. And I think everyone can use it for fun. But
Right.
let's remember the real one comes from the heart and goes out. It doesn't come from a bunch of circuits. It's a slight difference that maybe the new generation will miss, and they think they are good in everything. You're not good at everything. You're good at prompting and
Right.
commissioning. It's just a
Yes.
different thing. And I prefer to play basketball instead of watching basketball being
Yes.
played. I prefer to dance instead of watching. I love watching people dance. I love the Olympics and watching other people doing figure skating. But
Hmm.
then I really like to be there on my roller skating and try to go there and not fall on the floor because I love how I feel this freedom when I'm getting there. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to put down AI, but remember that when you actually do it, there is a neuroplasticity happening in your brain,
Hmm.
helping you and healing you. That is a process that cannot happen if you are commissioning someone else to have a fun for you.
Right. Yep. That's exactly it.
You know, why would I have somebody else having that fun if I can have that fun? And a word for you: if you cannot compose music, you want to have fun with AI, have fun. You know,
Sure.
let's, but don't come out like the musician so and so is not musician, is a computer user, is different. And I
Hmm.
love computer. I am surrounded here by, Canon camera, lots of computers. I have a Korg GSX downstairs. I can do everything, but I have to still use the stuff to get those
Yes.
results.
Exactly.
I like the exercise of pressing my hands on until this finger always goes after a while. When I do
Hmm.
like the back famous thing, I just, oh my gosh, the finger is painful. It tells me I've done something there. It's a good exercise. So
Yes.
let's embrace this tactile version of art. Have you got one last word to say before we close, Gerald?
I think one last thing that I would like to say is sometimes we are afraid. We don't know what's before us. I actually wrote a poem in my poetry book, Poetry That Motivates, and it's actually titled Befriend the Fear of the Failure You Fear. And I just like to read this because sometimes it's the unknown that we don't understand or we don't realize how capable we are or what we can learn, what we can accomplish, what we can do, and who we can become. And that fear can cripple people, which is why we need more peace and positivity in our lives. But let me read this to you. This is a poem I wrote a few years ago. It says, Befriend the failure you fear. Do not fear failure. Befriend the failure you fear. Failure can become a dear friend if you let it. But most fear failure and eventually regret it. Failure is not a folly fool to be avoided and dreaded and cursed. It is a gift we have been given so we might improve the performance we've daily rehearsed. Each step backwards is a friendly failure, not a foe to be beaten and bruised. For with each failure we learn something new, though most feel discarded and used. Do not let failure frighten you. Face it with faith and might. Encourage it and learn from it, for each failure can bring you new light. And as you mentioned, it's doing, it's not in attempting or trying, it's doing, it's being, and it's about who we are becoming. And we can become our best. We can share peace and positivity with the world, and we can do everything within our power to help cloud out that noise that we talked about, that
Mm.
we can ground with the earth, and we can actually experience happiness, pure peace and positivity in our lives. So that's all I would share with everyone.
That's brilliant. And I do want to hang something to that because in the end of our life, 80, 90, 100, when we're going to be on the deathbed and the loved ones are there to see that we're going to another side, how many of us will say, oh, I wish I spent more time in the office or I wish I spent more time scrolling? What will really happen is we will look at what we've done, how many people we helped, what kind of relationships we had. And but what is important when we go to the other side, we're both LDS here, is what we have become.
Hmm.
Have we
Exactly.
become something there? And
Hmm.
have we helped anyone else to become the best version of themselves? That's what really matters, doesn't it? And music can really help you to become. So it's a great topic to analyze. I could talk for the whole day, interview
Hmm.
everyone, but the time will go. I want to leave you all with a quote that I found yesterday. It's from Lao Tzu, and it says, "Music in the soul can be heard by the universe." And I thought about that, and I thought that's what we do when we sing a hymn, when we praise God, when we bring all the sound of nature that He created, and we not just singing to the universe, and the
Hmm.
universe will sing back to us, maybe.
Absolutely. It's that connecting, bringing heaven here on earth,
That's
and
it.
it's wonderful.
It's a wonderful thing. And we have to go. So we thank you so much. Thank you, Gerald, for being here. Thank
Thank
you
you.
for all of you for being here. Please click, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you all next week. Bye bye.
Thank you.